Here we go again. So this is now we're going to be looking at chapter 6 today. We looked at chapter 5 yesterday. A few things to cover off there. I've had a read through the study section of the Bible just to really give me some pointers on how to digest chapter 5, and there are a few things to look at. So chapter 4, towards the end of that looked at Adam's genealogy through the line of Cain, and then chapter 5 is then looking at Adam's family line through Seth. So when you compare the two, if looking at Cain's family line, so Cain, he found a city, he named it after his son Enoch, and then the line continues down, and then the seventh generation is then Lamech, and he's got two wives, so he kind of flaunts being a bigamist and a murderer. So he's talking about the two guys that he's killed. Whereas then you look at Seth's line, and it's all like righteousness and being holy and calling on the Lord and that sort of thing, and taking their religious duties very seriously. So, and in that, I suppose one of Seth's children then gets called up early to God. So comparing the two lines, where we end up with Lamech, who is kill people, has two wives, and you're looking at that line as a whole, the kind of the way it's been described is that they're seeking glory and glory for themselves. So with Cain naming the city after his son, that's one thing, but then on the other side, on Lamech's side, they're very good and righteous. So the way it's kind of described the two lines is Cain's line is wicked and bad, a bit naughty, and Seth's line is good and righteous. So that's kind of the comparable of the two lines there. Then we have, as part of that, we're also looking at humanity at that time. If this is the very early sort of point of life of humans, the gene pool is going to be very small. So there will have been, in kind of what it said in the study part again, is that there will have been brothers marrying sisters and so on through necessity, really, in order to reproduce. If it's starting that small, it's then they've got to come together and make some more. So the next point, it then comes on to, so we've got marriages between brothers and sisters. There are a lot of unnamed children. So it says they had more children, more sons and daughters, but they're unnamed. So it's only named, I suppose, some of the key figures at that time, according to the Bible. But they lived very long lives. So that's another thing. And I was looking for a bit of guidance on that, as to how can that be boxed off and just explained, really. Sorry, the sun is in my face. Let's have a look. Okay. So how that can be explained away, and ultimately there isn't a satisfactory answer for this. Just to go through some of the ages, I've not reeled off everybody here, but Adam lived to 930 years old. Enosh lived to 905. He had a kid at 90. Kenan lived to 910. He had a kid at 70. Jared lived to 962. He had a kid at 162 years old. Enoch lived to 365, but he was taken by God. Then Lamech lived to 777. He had a kid at 182. And then we get to Noah. So I have missed a couple of people out there, I know I have. But then Noah, he had kids at 500 years old. So, wow, what a guy. But it's just, if we were looking at that literally, they must have had a very slow metabolism or something. But it's just how that can be, how that can be explained. Because not only is it, what condition must the human body have been in, but how they were able to physically have children then. Not just the men, but then what about the wives? What condition were they in? At what age do you have menopause and things like that? So they're the sort of things that if I was looking at it based on now and scientifically for the human body, that's kind of what I'd be asking. The human species is roughly 40,000 years old, something like that. And if we're going back to the dawn of man, in prehistoric times, or if we're looking at like cavemen, essentially, they are very short lives, hunter-gatherers, and lifespan increased over time. It didn't get shorter. So there's no real good way of explaining that. I think they did, it was saying that people looked at, I suppose, instead of looking at it as years, they changed it to months, but then some of the people will have had children when they were actually children themselves. And also they looked at whether it was the age of a clan, but then that contradicts the fact that individuals are mentioned in this. So I think from what they've said, the best hypothesis was that the figures were for the age of mankind, not individuals, and it was a literary technique that was used. But yeah, that's kind of what, just to summarise what was in there and go into it in a bit more detail and try and take something from it. But with the vast ages, looking at it from a modern perspective, it's very difficult to take that literally. Anyway, chapter 6 today, so we'll move on, and this is the wickedness of mankind. When man began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took to wife such of them as they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man for ever, for he is flesh, but his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men that were of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the ground, man and beast, and creeping things, and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favour in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Noah makes the ark as God commands. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits, its breadth, 50 cubits, and its height, 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark, and finish it to a cubit above. And set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every sort shall come into you, to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. That's the end of chapter 6. I think I've rambled on a bit at the start there, so that'll be enough for today. But listening to that, or reading that, that might have covered a little bit of the age thing. If you're saying that he's put a cap on the age and he's withdrawn his spirit from them. I'll have another read through anyway. But yeah, thank you if you've listened, and speak to you tomorrow.